Today we're going to be going over some often overlooked but highly necessary maintenance on your RV that most of us just don't do. Brakes on your RV trailer. On your RV trailer, they work the same way as they do on your car. You step on the brake shoe expands against the drum, slows your RV down. It's also a perfect time to do the bearings on your RV axles. Now, if you've ever looked in your rearview mirror and seen your actual rims deflecting as you're taking a turn, it's time to do the bearings on your axles. So I just went ahead and ordered a whole new brake assembly, all new magnets, pads, springs, the whole nine. So it's only 5 bolts to pop the old one off, pop the new one on. And don't worry, there's links to where I got all these parts in the description of this video. So if you've got the same brakes we do or something similar, you can click those links, bring right to it. And these are the best prices that I found on the internet. So definitely go and click those links and check that out. Now, this is not a project to be done wearing your Sunday best because your wife's going to kill you. So I definitely recommend getting a good big box of rubber gloves and plenty of paper towels because this one's going to be a messy one. So the first thing that we're going to do is start by getting this grease cap off. The easiest way to do that is hit it with a hammer on a 45-degree angle from the inside to the out. Knock your grease cap off so that you can get to your retainer clip and retaining nut to get to the rest of the assembly. Now, if you clean all the grease out of this little pocket, you can easily see the retainer clip that holds your nut, that holds everything else still on. The easiest way to get this retainer clip off is with a screwdriver. You're going to pry underneath of the little lock fingers and work it back, and it will just pop itself off the nut. Take note that it is flat on the inside in one section. That's so that it'll hold that nut from spinning itself off, causing the whole assembly to unbolt itself as you're driving down the road. Next step is to remove your retaining nut. Set that to the side for reinstallation later. Next thing to come out is the washer behind it. Again, with that same flat spot on the inside. Set that aside for reinstallation later. And you can take your old bearing out. After that, you just pull your old drum right off your brake assembly. Now, the other thing I've gone ahead and done is gotten a whole new brake drum assembly. So this one has the bearings pre-pressed into it, pre-greased, so all you gotta do is pop this drum off, pop this one back on, because we noticed when we were doing our preliminary check on it, the inside of this drum from those bad bearings has some score marks from the drum wobbling on it and scored the inside of the drum, causing this drum to be weaker, which could also lead to wheel separation. Again, links in the description, so click those if you need these as well. But in this section right here, where it's nice and shiny, that's where things were wobbling in and out and hitting the side of our brake shoes from those bearings going bad. Now you can go ahead and wipe off any excess grease that's going to fall onto your good pair of jeans because you didn't listen to me and get changed before you started working on yours. So there's 2 ways for you to identify which brakes you're going to need for your RV trailer brake system. The first of them being identify your axles and buy the according brakes. Now, you can look on your axles. It should have an axle tag telling you the manufacturer and the weight of your axles. And then you've just got to buy the appropriate brake and drum setup for those axles. The other thing that you can do is once you get to this step here, if you look inside your brake drum, there'll be a manufacturer sticker that tells you the part number of the brake that you're trying to replace. The next step is on the back of your brake drum. You've got the wires that come from your trailer to your brakes. They may have a retaining clip holding the connection that you're going to have to cut in order to get them out. Now, once you've cut that retaining clip, just go ahead and cut it on the trailer side of the wires so that you can put fresh new splice contacts on your new setup. These wires are going to pull off with your old brake drum setup. The next thing that you're going to do is remove the 5 nuts on your retaining bolts to take your entire brake assembly off. Now, some persuasion may be needed to get the actual assembly off of that, because remember, it's been on here for years and there's plenty of caked up rust and brake dust holding it on. Make sure you get a decent persuader and it should pop right off. Be sure to thoroughly clean anywhere that a bearing is going to go. You want this free of any rust or debris that's going to cause a grease seal to be cracked or otherwise cut or compromised, so that the next time you grease your axles, you're not pushing bearing grease in between your brake shoes and your brake drum which again would lead to a catastrophic failure of your brake system. Now, the next step is to install your new brake setup right on top of those 5 same bolts. Slide your new assembly in. And if you've been following along with this video and it's helping you out, go ahead and hit that like button for us and subscribe to our channel. And you know what? While you're at it, go ahead and hit that super thanks button and show us that you really appreciate all the work that we're putting into. So now that you've got this part installed, you're going to reinstall those same 5 nuts to hold your new brake assembly on. Now this is your brake adjustment wheel. You turn this wheel one direction or the other, and that'll keep your pads farther out or farther in, getting them closer to or farther away from the drum. Now if you've got manually adjusted drums, you're going to do that from the back side once your drum is installed. We chose to go with the Dexter easy adjust axles and brake setup, so that while we're driving down the road, every time you hit the brakes in forward motion, that's going to go ahead and adjust itself to keep these optimized for stopping power, so that we never have to think about adjusting our brakes. Now our axles happen to have the Easy Lube setup with the grease Zerk fitting out at the tip of the axle. Now if you've never seen how these work, what this does is you put your grease fitting on here, squirt the grease in, it comes out this little channel in the back. Now that's going to be important for what I show you later with how to properly grease your axle. Now at this step, your new brakes are installed. The only thing left to do now is to slide your new drum on with your new bearings and your new grease seal on the back of it. You're just going to slide it right over until it seats all the way in. Take your outer bearing, slide that back into the center. Next thing to be installed is that washer with your flat spot on it. Find the flat spot, line it up, push that in, reinstall your lock nut. Right now, while we're renovating our RV and we're not using it, is the perfect time to go through and get all of our brakes. And once you got that nut on, you're just going to go ahead and snug it up. Once it's snug, you're going to find this flat spot on your retainer clip and on your axle. Line the 2 of those up and pop it on. Now the last thing to do is to connect your wires back up. It's easiest to slide some shrink tubing over the wires before you strip them. And again, I've got links to everything that you're going to need to do this project in the description of the video. So watch it till the end, re-watch the parts that you need to, then go ahead and order the parts you need and follow along with it again to get this project done on your time schedule. Just strip your wires coming from your trailer. They are ambidextrous, so you can attach them to either one. Twist the wires together, then slide your shrink tubing over it. Then just apply some heat to shrink the tube and get a watertight seal. Once your wires are shrink tubed together, attach them to the back of the drum with a new retaining clip. Final step is to install your new grease cap. GoPro, stop recording. Now this next thing, a lot of people just use whatever they can find. They run down to the local auto parts store, pick up the first thing they find and call it good enough. It's really not the way you want to go. With a wheel bearing grease, especially on your RV, you want to use good quality grease. Now I've done over 50,000 miles last year with our RV. We've been living in it full time, traveling the country, and I've done service greasings with the Lucas Red and Tacky. Now it's got excellent thermal properties. There's links to it in the description of the video, so make sure you get yourself a case of it if you're doing this project. And I can tell you, after doing a service grease for the first time with this Lucas Red and Tacky on all six axles, we picked up a half a mile to the gallon. So it really is worth the money that you're spending on it. So make sure you get yourself a good quality grease to keep these bearings greased and keep your RV rolling down the road safely. You're going to pop your grease gun onto your Zerk fitting and then begin greasing it. Now, while you're greasing it, you're going to want to rotate your brake drum. What that does is lets the grease flow in to the back to that grease seal, puts an even coat around your bearing, and pushes it out. Process is exactly the same for a service greasing, or if you've done the complete replacement like we have done today. You pop the rubber cap off, pop your grease gun under your Zerk fitting and start greasing. The grease will flow to the back, and since it's got the grease seal in the back, all the grease comes forward. Now, when you're doing a service greasing, the grease that's in there is going to be kind of black or purple, kind of dark. You'll notice it, especially if you're using the Lucas Red and Tacky. You're just going to continue squeezing grease in and rotating your hub the whole time that you're doing it to get a nice even coating on the bearing and around your axle. As you're doing this, all of your old grease is going to begin to push out of this axle. You're going to keep on greasing. Sometimes, I mean, you could go through an entire tube of grease on each axle, so that's why you're going to want to order a case. Now, this is going to be the most time-consuming part of this project, is pumping the fresh grease in there. It is going to take a while. Once you get the fresh grease coming out, this hole pushes all the old grease out, where you know, the nice fresh red grease coming out, then you're done. All right, you can see here, grease is right there to the edge. So rather than spilling it all out the front, which is just a waste of grease, now all we got to do is take our new rubber cap, pop it in there. That's going to keep all your grease sealed inside your axle where you want it, not around your brake drum or on the outside of your tire. So, like I said, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button for us, and like I said, wouldn't mind a super thanks if you got the time. See you on the next one.